The sound hit first. It wasn't just a cry. It was a roar of pain and fear that made the metal walls tremble like paper. Inside the great hangar of Starbase 9, lights flickered, tools fell, and the air vibrated as if the station itself was alive and crying too. Alien workers ran for cover, their strange limbs shaking. Even the security drones froze in midair, unsure what to do. At the center of all the noise stood a creature. Small yet terrifying. A baby alien dragon. Its silver-blue scales glowed like liquid moonlight, and every breath it took released sparks of heat that danced on the floor. But this was no ordinary cry. This was a cry that could break glass. Every time the creature wailed, the oxygen tanks rattled, and the hangar doors groaned. "Back away," shouted the alien commander, his voice echoing through the alarm. "Contain the area before he destabilizes the reactor field." No one dared to get close, even the bravest alien soldiers stood frozen, watching the little creature twist and scream. Its eyes glowed bright blue, glowing brighter each time it cried out. If it kept going, the sound alone might shatter the energy cores that powered the base. Then, through the noise and flashing red lights, a human walked in. His name was Jake Lawson. A mechanic, not a soldier, not a scientist. He wore a dirty brown jumpsuit, his hands still stained with oil. He had been fixing a shuttle engine when the emergency alarms began. Everyone shouted at him, "Stay back, human. The creature is unstable. Do not approach." But Jake kept walking. He didn't run, he didn't shout. He just looked curious. He squinted at the screaming baby dragon and tilted his head. It looked terrified, not angry. Jake stopped about 10 meters away, his voice calm. "What's wrong, little one?" The aliens turned to him in disbelief. Was he mad? Talking to that thing? Even the commander's voice cracked. "Human, if you get too close, that cry will destroy your hearing, and or worse." Jake didn't answer. He crouched slowly, lowering himself to eye level with the dragon. The creature's scales were quivering and its claws dug into the metal floor. Jake could see tears, tiny glowing drops, falling down its face. That surprised him. He had never seen an alien creature cry like that before. "Hey," he whispered, "you're scared, aren't you?" The dragon stopped for a second. Its eyes focused on the sound of his voice. The hangar seemed to pause, the alarms kept flashing red. But for that brief moment, the sound softened. Jake smiled a little. He had fixed thousands of machines in his life. Engines that hissed, reactors that screamed, ships that roared like beasts. He had learned one thing, and sometimes the noise wasn't anger, it was pain. Machines and creatures both cried when something was wrong inside. The dragon took a deep breath and then let out another cry. This one shorter but filled with fear. Energy rippled through the hangar, shaking the floor again. Panels fell from the ceiling, and the aliens yelled for Jake to fall back. Instead, he took one slow step forward. "It's okay," he said softly. "You're safe here. No one will hurt you." The baby dragon blinked, confused. Its wings, when small and half-transparent, fluttered weakly. Jake saw a faint burn mark on its left side. Something had hurt it, maybe during birth, maybe in the storm outside. The commander shouted again, "Human, retreat at once! The creature's energy readings are unstable." Jake ignored him. He slowly removed his gloves, letting his bare hands show. He didn't reach out, just kept them visible. "See? No tools, no weapons, just me," he said, his tone gentle. His voice carried strangely through the hangar. Even over the alarms, it felt calm, steady, warm. The baby dragon's breathing slowed. The blue light in its chest dimmed. For the first time, the creature wasn't screaming. The aliens whispered among themselves. How did he do that? "He's only human." No telepath, no empathic field, nothing, just words. Jake didn't care about what they said. He only looked at the small creature trembling in front of him. He could see fear in its eyes, the kind of fear only something truly alone could feel. He recognized it because he had felt it once. When his ship had crashed years ago, leaving him stranded in space for days before rescue, he knew what loneliness sounded like. He heard it now in the baby dragon's cry. "Easy now," he whispered again. The creature tilted its head, tiny sparks flickering from its nostrils. It let out a smaller sound, more like a whimper than a roar. The hangar went completely silent. Every eye was on them, every machine, every drone. Even the lights seemed to pause. Then, without warning, the dragon stretched out one small claw and tapped the floor near Jake's boot. Jake froze. It wasn't an attack, it was a sign of trust. He smiled. "Good boy," he said softly. The dragon blinked, confused but calmer. Its wings folded, and the glow around its body faded from bright blue to soft silver. The commander lowered his weapon. He had no idea what he was seeing. A human, a simple mechanic, had done what no alien technology or tranquilizer could. Jake stayed there, sitting quietly. The baby dragon finally closed its eyes and let out a small sigh. Its body relaxed, and the dangerous energy around it disappeared. The alarms slowly went silent one by one, until the hangar was filled only with soft breathing. Jake whispered one last thing. "Don't worry, little one, I'll find out what hurt you, and we'll fix it." At that moment, the aliens realized something impossible had just happened. The human had calmed a dragon with nothing but kindness, and somewhere deep in the base, sensors recorded a strange new reading, a human energy signature linked to the dragon's heart rhythm. It was as if somehow they had started to bond. But no one noticed the red warning light blinking quietly above them. Outside the station, dark clouds of magnetic storm energy were forming again. The real danger hadn't even begun yet. The hangar was quiet again, but the silence didn't feel safe. It felt heavy, like the air itself was waiting for something bad to happen. The baby dragon, Rin, was finally calm, curled up in a nest of soft wires and thermal sheets that Jake had pulled together. The little creature breathed softly, glowing faint silver under the flickering lights, but every few seconds, the station's walls made a deep rumbling sound, as if something far away was moving through space. Jake sat near the dragon, cleaning his tools slowly, his eyes never leaving the small creature. He could still feel the echo of that strange moment, when Rin had stopped crying and looked straight into his eyes. For a second, Jake had felt something warm and alive inside his chest, like a silent heartbeat that wasn't his. He didn't understand it, but he knew it wasn't normal. The alien commander, a tall being with green glassy skin and long antennae, stood nearby with folded arms. He looked down at the human and the dragon and said, "You do not understand what you have done." "Mechanic," Jake looked up, tired but calm. "I just stopped the crying, that's all." The commander's voice grew sharper. That cry came from deep fear, and that fear came from the storm that made him. The storm that still follows him. Jake frowned. "Storm?" The commander nodded slowly, his antennae glowing faintly. Rin was born in the middle of a cosmic storm. A silent one, no sound, no light, just waves of energy. We call it the silent starstorm. It destroys systems without making a sound. He pointed toward the window where the stars looked normal. Calm, peaceful, but the storm travels unseen, hidden between light and dark. It feeds on unstable energy, and now it is coming here. Jake turned toward the sleeping dragon. "So he feels it, doesn't he? That's why he cries." The commander's eyes dimmed. "Yes, and if he cries again, the energy inside him could react to the storm, and this whole base could tear apart." For a moment, no one spoke. The hum of machines filled the empty hangar. Jake rubbed his face, thinking he was just a mechanic, not a hero, not a scientist, but something about the small dragon made him feel responsible. He looked so fragile, even though he could shake the whole station. Rin moved a little, letting out a small whimper, his tail twitching. Jake leaned forward and whispered, "It's okay, little one. I'm here." The baby opened one glowing blue eye and gave a soft hum, a sound so low it was almost like a heartbeat. The alien technicians gasped, their sensors flashing green. "The human's presence. It stabilizes the creature's pulse," one whispered. "Impossible," said another. But Jake didn't hear them. He only watched the small creature breathe again, calm and trusting. Outside, the darkness began to twist. Beyond the window, stars shimmered oddly, their light bending and pulsing. The commander stepped closer to the glass, his voice filled with fear. "It's here," he whispered. "The silent starstorm has reached orbit." The alarms began to flash red again. Jake stood up quickly. "What does that mean?" The commander replied, "It means our shields will fail soon, and your dragon will sense it before anyone else." Rin suddenly sat up, wings fluttering fast, eyes glowing bright blue again. He started to cry, not as loud as before, but the sound vibrated through the floor like thunder. Machines around them began to spark, energy fields flickered, and control screens glitched. Jake ran to him, shouting over the noise, "Rin, hey, look at me!" The dragon's cries grew louder, echoing across the hangar like waves of pure sound. The aliens covered their ears. Some fell to the ground, their suits cracking under the vibration. The commander shouted, "Human, get away!" But Jake didn't move. He climbed onto a toolbox, reaching eye level with the baby dragon. "Listen to me, you're okay," he yelled. "It's just noise outside, not danger. Look at me." The dragon's eyes flickered between blue and silver, his wings trembling. Then Jake did something strange. He placed his hand over his heart and said slowly, "You're safe, Rin. Do you hear this?" He tapped his chest 3 times, steady and calm. The dragon stared, breathing faster, then slower. Jake kept repeating, "It's okay. Breathe like this." One of the alien scientists looked at the readings and gasped. "The human's heartbeat is syncing with the creature's pulse. They are stabilizing together," the commander growled. "That is impossible, unless the dragon chose him." The storm outside grew brighter. Lightning flashes without sound, waves of invisible energy rolling toward the base. The hangar lights flickered again, then turned dark red. Jake felt the floor shaking beneath his boots. "Commander, we have to move him. If the storm hits, he'll panic again." The commander nodded, shouting orders, but before anyone could react, the power cut out completely, total darkness. Only one thing glowed: Rin's body, shining bright silver blue, lighting up Jake's face in that eerie glow. Jake saw something floating near the dragon's chest. Small, shimmering particles, they rose slowly like glowing dust, forming soft waves in the air. It was almost beautiful. The dragon had stopped crying again. Staring at Jake, calm but alert, Jake whispered, "You're protecting us, aren't you?" Outside the hangar window, the storm passed silently, leaving only drifting particles of light like ghostly snow. The station's systems flickered back to life. Everyone stood still, breathing hard, trying to understand what had just happened. The commander turned toward Jake, voice trembling for the first time. "The silent starstorm moved around us," he said slowly. "No station has ever survived it before, and this one did." Jake looked down at Rin, who was now resting again, small and peaceful. He smiled weakly. "Maybe he's not dangerous after all," he said. "Maybe he just needed someone to listen." The commander stared at the human for a long moment, then he said quietly, "Or maybe he needed someone to believe in him." Jake didn't answer. He just sat beside Rin again, watching the strange glowing creature sleep. Outside, the storm drifted away into deep space. But far beyond the stars, something dark moved, slow, massive, alive. The silent starstorm was not gone. It had only chosen to wait. The storm had passed. But the silence it left behind was strange. Too quiet, too heavy, like the air was holding its breath. The lights in the hangar flickered weakly as the alien engineers moved around, repairing systems and whispering in nervous tones. They had seen something impossible. The human mechanic calming a baby alien dragon and somehow keeping the storm away. It was not logic. It was not science. It was something else, something no one could explain. Jake Lawson sat near the sleeping dragon again, his eyes half closed, a cup of synthetic coffee in his hand. Rin, the baby dragon, slept peacefully this time, his chest glowing faintly like a small heartbeat of light. Jake had never seen anything so alive, so fragile, and yet so powerful. He smiled quietly, whispering, "You're full of surprises, little one." But peace on a space station never lasted long. When Jake looked out the observation window, he saw tiny sparks floating near the base, not stars, but energy fragments, leftovers from the silent starstorm. Drifting like glowing dust in space, they hit the outer shield sometimes, and the shield flickered an answer. The commander had said it was normal, but Jake didn't believe that. He could feel the danger still there, hiding behind the silence. A sudden metallic hiss broke his thoughts. He turned to see one of the alien scientists approach, a tall figure with thin silver eyes and soft blue skin. Her name was Dr. Alaris, chief biologist of Starbase 9. She looked at Jake with both curiosity and caution. "The creature has imprinted on you," she said slowly. Jake frowned. "Imprinted?" Dr. Alaris nodded. "He sees you as something safe and maybe his family." Jake laughed a little, rubbing the back of his neck. "Family? I'm just a mechanic with a toolbox." But Alaris didn't smile. "You don't understand," she said. "A dragon from the Valon species chooses only once, and if that bond breaks, the creature can lose control forever." Jake looked at the sleeping baby dragon again, suddenly worried. "So if I leave him," Alaris finished his thought, "he might never stop crying again." A heavy silence followed. Jake sighed. "Then I guess I'm staying." Alaris looked at him for a moment, then said softly, "You may have just saved more than you realize." Hours passed. and Jake returned to his small repair corner. He liked the smell of oil and warm metal, the hum of machines that didn't complain. It made him feel human in a place full of strange life. But tonight he couldn't focus. Rin's soft cries echoed in his mind, not loud, just sad little sounds he had made in his sleep. Jake wished he could do something to keep him happy. Something simple, something comforting. He leaned back in his chair, staring at his tools, wrenches, pipes, old tubing, air filters, foam tanks, soap cartridges, even a broken coolant sprayer. His brain began to connect them, shapes, ideas, patterns. And then he remembered something from Earth, something small and joyful. He smiled, whispering, "Bubbles," as a child. He had blown bubbles for his baby sister when she cried. She would stop crying every time, staring at the soft floating shapes. She would laugh as the bubbles drifted and popped. He never forgot that sound, the laughter of calm. Maybe it could work again, even here in the cold of space. Jake grabbed his tools and started working. Metal clanked, wires sparked, air hissed. He built a frame using a coolant pipe, attached an oxygen tube and connected it to a fluid tank. He found a container of cleaning soap and mixed it carefully. The machine began to hum softly and Jake smiled. "All right, little one. Let's see if humans still have a few tricks." When Alaris entered the hangar again, she froze. Jake stood in front of a strange metal contraption spraying small shimmering bubbles into the air. Each bubble reflected the lights above, glowing in rainbow colors. Some floated high toward the ceiling. Others drifted past the dragon's nest. At first, Rin didn't move. Then one bubble landed softly on his nose. He blinked, cross-eyed. Watching the bubble shimmer and wobble, it popped with a gentle sound, a puff, and a faint sparkle. Rin blinked again, then made a small chirp, a curious one. He reached out with a tiny claw and tapped another bubble. It popped too, leaving behind a faint sparkle of light. Rin tilted his head and made another sound, something close to a giggle. The aliens around the hangar watched in disbelief. A moment ago, the dragon's cry could shake the base. Now he was playing calm, curious, happy. Jake laughed softly. "Yeah, that's it. Bubbles make everything better." Rin began to chase the bubbles, jumping lightly, flapping his small wings. Each time one popped, he made a new sound, soft and bright like a bell. The air filled with color and laughter. Even the alien workers stopped to watch, their cold faces warming with surprise, Alaris whispered. "Incredible. Pure emotional redirection. The creature's fear has turned into joy." Jake looked at her with a grin. "We call it fun." The commander entered just then, ready to shout orders, but when he saw the scene, he stopped mid-sentence. The hangar glowed with hundreds of floating bubbles. The dragon glided between them, wings spread wide, glowing silver and blue. Jake's machine hissed quietly, releasing more bubbles that reflected the stars from the window. The commander whispered, "How is this possible?" Alaris replied softly, "Human simplicity." For the first time since the crisis began, everyone smiled. The baby dragon no longer looked like a weapon or a threat. He looked like a child, a curious, gentle, alive, but as the last bubble popped, a soft vibration echoed through the hangar. Jake frowned, feeling the ground tremble. The lights dimmed for a second, then came back on. Outside the window, far in the darkness, something shimmered. Not light, but shadow. A movement too large to understand. Alaris checked her scanner, her face turning pale blue. "The storm left something behind," she whispered. Jake turned to her. "What do you mean?" "Residual waves," she said, her voice trembling. "The silent starstorm didn't go away. It's circling us." Jake looked at Rin, still playing with bubbles. Unaware of the danger, he whispered quietly, "Then we'll need more than bubbles next time." But as Rin released one soft bubble from his own breath, glowing brighter than all the others, Jake felt something strange again. The air shimmered, his chest warmed, and for a heartbeat, he saw inside that glowing bubble a tiny image of the storm itself, turning slowly like an eye. It was watching them, waiting and learning. The silent starstorm was not finished, and Jake Lawson, the human mechanic, had just become part of something far greater than anyone in the galaxy could understand. The hangar was calm again, but it was not real calm. It was the kind of peace that comes before something big, something heavy, something dangerous. Soft bubbles floated through the air, shimmering in rainbow light. They carried a quiet beauty, fragile and innocent. But beneath that silence, something in the base had changed. The walls groaned like they were breathing. The power lights dimmed and brightened again in a slow, Uneasy rhythm, Jake sat beside Rin, the baby dragon, who now rested with his tail curled around his machine. The bubble maker hummed softly beside him, still glowing with faint silver from Rin's earlier play. Jake smiled as he watched the little dragon breathe. The creature's chest rose and fell with soft light. Peaceful, finally. But Jake couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. He looked up. Outside the hangar window, space looked normal. Stars shining. Dark sky, calm. Yet deep inside that calm, the stars seemed to flicker too fast, like something invisible was brushing past them. Dr. Alaris entered the hangar quietly, carrying a small scanner in her hand. She nodded to Jake. "He's stable," she said. "His energy levels are calm for now." Jake nodded. "That's good." But then she added, "The readings outside aren't normal." Jake frowned. "You mean the storm again?" Alaris's antennae twitched nervously. Not the storm, but something left behind by it, a magnetic echo. Before Jake could reply, the ground trembled softly, only once, like a deep heartbeat under the floor. Every tool on the nearby table rattled. Rin lifted his head, ears twitching. Eyes glowing faint blue, Alaris froze, staring at her scanner. "No, it's starting again." Jake stood up fast. "What is?" She whispered. "The echo. It's reacting to his energy. It's calling back the storm." The air temperature dropped quickly. Mist formed near the floor, swirling around their boots. Lights flickered and went dim, leaving everything in a pale blue glow from Rin's body. The little dragon whimpered, sensing danger. Jake moved closer, kneeling. Hey, look at me, you're okay." But outside the glass, something began to move, a dark wave, stretching across the stars. It wasn't lightning, and it wasn't sound. It was emptiness, moving like a living thing. The silent starstorm was returning, silent but deadly. Alaris shouted orders through her comm. "Seal the hangar shields. Lock down all power cores." Aliens ran through the halls, their metallic suits clanging. Jake stayed beside Rin, trying to keep him calm. "Don't cry, little one, please," he whispered. He didn't know if the dragon understood. But Rin looked at him, eyes wide, body shaking. Wings fluttering, then it began. A long, low hum filled the hangar, not from machines, from Rin himself. The sound wasn't loud, but it was deep. It vibrated through every wall. "Every wire, every heartbeat," Alaris screamed. "He's absorbing the echo." Jake stared. "Absorbing? That's good, right?" "No," she yelled. "If he takes in too much, his body will overload. He'll explode like a sun." The bubble machine sparked behind them. Unable to handle the rising energy, its lights flickered, then went out. The last few bubbles popped in the air. Fading into silence, Jake turned back to the small creature, who now glowed brighter than before. "Rin, listen to me," he said, voice shaking. "Look at me, not the storm. Focus." The dragon's body shook violently, his claws scraping the metal floor. A deep crack formed under him as heat spread. Jake's hair stood on end from the static. He looked around, desperate. There had to be a way to stop this. He saw the broken bubble machine lying nearby, and an idea flashed in his mind. He shouted to Alaris, "Get me oxygen feed line A7 and a coolant tank." Alaris stared in disbelief. "What are you doing?" "Buying us time," Jake replied, running toward his workbench. Sparks flew as he grabbed tools, ripped wires, and reconnected them in quick moves. He had done this 1,000 times, repairing machines under pressure, but never one that could save a dragon. He rewired the bubble machine manually, bypassing the power cell. If he could create another soft distraction, something calm, maybe it could cool Rin's panic again. His hands moved fast, but the base shook harder. Outside, the silent starstorm drew closer, glowing like a giant invisible ocean wave. Every light on the base flashed red, alarms screaming. Alaris shouted, "Jake, it's too late. The storm is inside the magnetic field." Jake ignored her. He grabbed the coolant tank, opened the valve halfway, and fed it into the broken pipe. "Come on," he muttered. "Just one more time. Work for me." The machine sparked again, hissed, then released one small bubble. Just one. It floated slowly into the air. Glowing faintly, Rin's eyes followed it. The bubble drifted close to his face, reflecting his silver blue light. For a moment, the baby dragon froze, his energy pulse slowing. Jake whispered, "Yeah, that's it, calm down, it's okay." More bubbles followed, soft, glowing, floating gently. Rin's breathing slowed. The light around him dimmed. He tilted his head and tapped one bubble with his nose. It popped softly and the vibration in the room faded. The hangar fell into quiet again. Outside, the storm's dark wave stopped moving. It hung in space. Pulsing like a heartbeat, Ilaris gasped. He stopped it again. Jake collapsed to his knees. Exhausted but smiling, he looked at Rin, who blinked slowly and chirped once. "Good boy," Jake whispered, his voice barely audible. But before they could celebrate, a deep rumble rolled through the floor. The commander's voice shouted through the intercom. "All personnel, emergency warning. The storm is changing shape and it's focusing on the hangar." Jake turned toward the window. The shadow outside was no longer spread thin. It had gathered, thick, solid, alive, and right in the middle of it. A bright blue light was forming. A massive eye watching them, Ilaris whispered in horror. "It's not just energy, where it's conscious." The silent starstorm was alive, and it had noticed the human who kept calming its child. The calm had ended and the real burst was about to begin. The hangar trembled again, but this time it wasn't just vibration, it was alive. It pulsed through the walls like the heartbeat of something huge and watching. Outside the window, the silent starstorm glowed faint blue, its dark shape turning like a living storm eye staring at them. The base lights dimmed, flickered, then steadied again. Everyone on Starbase 9 could feel it. The storm was no longer just weather. It had awareness, it had intent. Jake Lawson stood in the middle of the hangar floor, breathing hard, covered in sweat and engine grease. The bubble machine hissed behind him, still working just enough to fill the air with a few soft, glowing bubbles. Rin, the baby dragon, crouched low near him, breathing quickly, his scales glowing brighter with every passing second. The storm outside reacted to every flicker of his light. It was like a mirror, alive, waiting for him to cry again. Dr. Ilaris ran into the room with 2 alien guards behind her. "Holding energy stabilizers," she shouted. "We must transfer the creature to the shield chamber now." Jake spun around. "You can't move him. He'll panic again." Ilaris's voice shook. "If we don't, the storm will consume the base. It's drawn to him." Rin whimpered softly, folding his wings close, his eyes darting from Jake to the glowing window. Jake could see the fear in him. It wasn't wild anymore, it was desperate. Confused, like a child lost in a thunderstorm. Jake knelt down slowly, resting one hand on the floor. "Hey, look at me," he whispered. "Don't look at that thing outside. Just look at me." Rin's eyes turned toward him, glowing faintly blue. Jake smiled gently, even though the ground shook under his knees. "You're okay, kid," he said. "You're not alone anymore." Ilaris hesitated, lowering her scanner. There was something in Jake's tone, something deep, steady, human. Every time he spoke, Rin's energy softened just a little. It was as if his voice was stronger than the storm itself. Another tremor rolled through the hangar. Sparks fell from the ceiling, and one of the alien guards shouted, "Magnetic shields are falling." Ilaris turned to the human. "Do something. You're the only one he listens to." Jake looked down at Rin. "I'll fix this." "Little one," he said quietly. "I promise." He stood up, his eyes moving across the hangar, searching for tools, parts, anything that could help. The bubble machine was barely running, the coolant almost gone, but the principle was simple. Calm through rhythm, calm through light. He could build something stronger, something that could hold the dragon's emotions steady and reflect it back like a mirror. He ran toward his tool bench, grabbing wires, coils, and pieces of reflective shield. His hands moved fast. Almost automatic, he spoke as he worked, half to himself, half to the dragon. "When I was a kid," he said, tightening a bolt, "my sister used to cry during thunder. She said the noise scared her. So I made her listen to the rhythm of rain instead." He smiled softly, connecting a circuit. "If you change what you hear, you change what you feel." Ilaris and the guards watched, confused. "What are you building?" one asked. Jake replied without looking up. "Something that plays calm instead of fear." Rin shifted nervously, sensing the storm growing stronger outside. Lightning-like waves moved closer to the base. The storm's energy hit the shields, making them glow bright white. The noise was silent but powerful, like pressure inside everyone's heads. Jake finished connecting the device, a small spherical unit made of engine filters, plasma wires, and sound dampeners. He set it near the dragon and activated it. The sphere released a soft hum, almost like a lullaby. The hum vibrated gently through the air, turning every nearby bubble into light. They floated upward, glowing like small planets. Rin's eyes followed them. His breathing slowed. The storm outside paused again, its glowing waves dimming slightly. Jake exhaled in relief. That's it. Just relax, but then the power flickered again. The hum faltered. Rin cried once, short but sharp, and the walls shook. The sound made every tool on Jake's bench fly into the air. One bubble machine pipe snapped loose, spraying soap mist everywhere. The hangar filled with floating lights and drifting steam. Jake stumbled but caught himself yelling, "Hold the shields!" Alaris shouted back, "Power's gone. We're running on emergency backup." The commander's voice came through the comm system, broken and loud. "Evacuate Hangar 3 now. The storm's mass is concentrating directly above your position." But Jake didn't move. He couldn't. Rin was shaking again, energy bursting around him in bright rings. If he cried again, the base would explode. Jake turned to Alaris. "If you leave, he'll die." She froze, eyes wide. "And if you stay, so will you," she said. Voice trembling, Jake smiled faintly. "Then we'll both stay." He turned back to the dragon. His hands shaking from exhaustion, he knelt down, pressing one hand gently against Rin's warm scales. "Listen to me," he said softly. His voice cut through the hum of the storm like a single string in the dark. "You're not alone anymore, okay? You don't have to fight the storm, I'll fight it with you." Rin blinked slowly. His breathing steadied. A soft light formed around both of them, faint at first, then brighter. The storm outside pulsed again, as if reacting to that light. It was trying to push closer, but something stopped it. Jake's chest began to glow faintly, the same color as Rin's scales. Alaris gasped. "Their energy fields are synchronizing again." Jake didn't hear her. He was whispering quietly, almost to himself. "Stay with me, kid, I'm not going anywhere." Outside, the massive storm eye froze, its swirling clouds slowing. The soundless hum faded into stillness. Then, piece by piece, the storm began to retreat. It wasn't defeated, just calm. It moved away, slow and deliberate. Like an ocean tide pulling back from shore, the hangar went silent. The only sound was the soft hum from Jake's sphere. Rin lowered his head, pressing it gently against Jake's chest. Jake smiled weakly, eyes half closed, whispering, "Told you I'd fix it." Alaris approached carefully, kneeling beside them. "He's linked to you now," she said. Her voice trembling with awe, Jake nodded slowly. "Yeah, guess I made a friend." She looked at him for a long moment. "Do you realize what this means?" she asked. Jake shook his head. "Not really." Alaris stared at the window, where the last shimmer of the silent starstorm vanished into space. "It means the storm isn't just reacting, it's learning, and it just met something new." Jake looked down at the small dragon asleep against him. He whispered quietly, "Then it better learn peace outside." Deep in the black of space, far beyond their sight, the storm moved slowly, forming shapes, almost like wings, and in the center of its swirling heart, two tiny lights began to glow, one silver, one blue, as if it had remembered the human in his dragon. The calm had returned, but somewhere out there, the storm was dreaming. The hangar smelled like burned metal and ozone. Sparks floated through the air like fireflies. The alarms were silent now, but the stillness carried weight, the kind that came after a storm that had almost destroyed everything. Jake Lawson sat on the cold floor. His back against a fallen crate, he was exhausted, covered in grease and blood from small cuts, but he was smiling because the baby dragon, Rin, was curled beside him, fast asleep. Soft light glowed from Rin's scales, faint silver ripples that moved like calm waves. Dr. Alaris walked slowly toward them, her silver eyes full of disbelief around her. Alien workers were busy repairing the damage, sealing cracks and resetting shield systems, but all of them kept glancing at Jake, at the human who had done what no machine, no weapon, and no alien science could do. Alaris crouched beside him. "You should be dead," she said quietly. "The storm's energy should have burned through your body." Jake gave a tired smile. "Guess it liked me." Alaris tilted her head, studying him. "No," she said. "It liked your heart," Jake laughed softly, but his hand trembled when he tried to lift his water bottle. She noticed and frowned. "Your energy levels are unstable," she said. "The synchronization with the creature changed your biology." Jake shrugged. "As long as he's fine, I'll take it." He looked down at Rin, who made a soft cooing sound in his sleep. The baby dragon's tail flicked gently, sending a few sparks of light into the air. Jake reached out and caught one between his fingers. It felt warm, alive, like holding a piece of starlight. Then something strange happened. The spark he touched began to glow brighter, then floated upward. It expanded in the air, not into a spark this time, but into a bubble. A soft, glowing sphere that shimmered with colors of blue and gold. It drifted up and reflected both the human and the dragon inside its surface. Alaris gasped. "Did you see that?" Jake blinked. "Yeah, I didn't do that." More bubbles began to appear, floating up from Rin's body. Hundreds of tiny glowing orbs filled the hangar. Moving like stars underwater, they pulsed gently, humming faintly. The same calming rhythm Jake had made before with his machine. Jake stood slowly, amazed. "He's making them himself," he said softly. Alaris nodded, whispering, "He's learning from you." The bubbles floated higher, touching the walls, the lights, the broken ceiling beams. Every place they touched began to glow, not just with light, but with repair. The metal cracks started to seal. The power conduits lit up again. Jake stared, his eyes wide. "He's healing the station." Rin woke up then, stretching his small wings. The glowing bubbles floated around him like a galaxy. He looked up at Jake and made a curious humming sound. Jake smiled. "Hey there, you fixing my mess?" Rin chirped once, puffing out a small glowing bubble from his nose. It floated between them and popped with a soft shimmer. The hangar lights came fully back to life. Aliens all around began cheering quietly. For the first time in weeks, Starbase 9 felt alive again. Alaris turned to Jake, her voice trembling with wonder. "You do realize what this means, don't you?" Jake raised an eyebrow. "That we won't die." She shook her head. "No. This creature just created a new form of energy, one linked to emotion instead of physics." Jake blinked. "Emotion?" Alaris nodded. "You taught him calm, trust, joy, and now he's reflecting those emotions into physical form." She pointed to the glowing repairs spreading through the walls. "The bubbles carry it. Human peace turned into living energy." Jake rubbed his neck, trying to make sense of it. "So, I taught him feelings," he said quietly. Alaris smiled faintly. "And he's teaching the universe." Before Jake could respond, the floor vibrated again, soft this time, not dangerous. But something deep and powerful moved beneath the station. The base sensors flickered to life on the overhead screens. A deep pulse echoed through the metal. "Thum, thum, thum." Alaris checked her scanner, her face growing pale. "The silent starstorm is responding," she whispered. Jake turned to the large window. Outside, in the endless black, faint blue light waves moved slowly, but not attacking. Just pulsing in rhythm, it was copying Rin's heartbeat. Copying his heartbeat, Jake felt a strange warmth in his chest again. The same light that had connected him and Rin before began to glow faintly under his skin. He pressed a hand to his heart, whispering, "What's happening?" Alaris said softly, "You've become part of its frequency. It can feel you now." The baby dragon flapped his wings once. Floating a little higher, his glowing bubbles followed him like a cloud. Each one reflected a piece of space, stars, light, and the faint shape of the storm itself. Jake stared in awe. "It's like he's talking to it." Alaris nodded. "Not with sound. With peace," Jake whispered. Bubbles of light. The storm outside pulsed again. This time slower, softer, its edges faded into the void. Instead of anger, it seemed to breathe, calm, steady, silent. The danger was gone, replaced by something else, understanding. The bubbles drifted higher until they filled the whole hangar. They floated near the ceiling like stars trapped in glass. One by one, they burst quietly, releasing soft flashes of color. Each burst sent a gentle warmth through the air. The alien stood still, eyes wide, feeling it too. Hope. Safety, peace. Jake looked at Rin, smiling proudly. "You did it, buddy," he said. "You turned fear into light," Rin hummed softly, pressing his small head against Jake's shoulder. Alaris wiped a tear from her eye, whispering, "I never thought I'd see this day. A human mechanic teaching a dragon how to save a world." But as the last few bubbles faded, a soft voice came through the comm system. It was the commander. "Station control to Hangar 3. Scanners detect unknown motion beyond the outer rim. Possible residual storm fragments approaching." Jake sighed, looking at Alaris. "Guess it's not over yet," Alaris replied. "No. But now you're not fighting it, you're guiding it." Jake looked at Rin, who was already staring toward the stars. His silver eyes glowed brighter. As if he sensed what was coming next, Jake whispered, "Then let's finish what we started." Outside, far beyond the shields, the silent starstorm flickered again. But this time it wasn't dark. It shimmered in soft hues, the same colors as the dragon's bubbles, like it was learning to shine, and in the heart of that vast cosmic sea, two faint lights glowed side by side. One human, one dragon beating together. Bubbles of light drifted from the hangar into space, floating out through invisible cracks in the airlock. They spread across the void, glowing softly like seeds of peace. And for the first time in galactic history, a storm smiled. The storm was gone for the first time in months. The sky around Starbase 9 shimmered with quiet light. Not danger. The air inside the base was peaceful, filled with a strange warmth that no machine could measure. The people, human and alien alike, worked in silence, still trying to understand what had happened. Jake Lawson walked slowly through the hangar, boots echoing against the repaired floor. Every surface gleamed now. Polished metal, sealed glass, glowing circuits. It was almost impossible to believe that this was the same place that had nearly been destroyed. Rin, the baby dragon, followed close behind him, wings folded, scales shining faint silver and blue. The creature's eyes sparkled with energy and calm. Every few steps he let out a soft chirp. Like a child trying to talk, Jake smiled. Yeah, I know. Little guy, it's quiet now, isn't it? Rin hummed in agreement, his tail leaving a faint trail of light as he walked. The hangar doors were open just enough for the stars to peek through. Bubbles, unreal and energy-born, drifted gently upward, glowing in the dim light. Each bubble reflected the stars outside, and each one carried a faint echo of Rin's song. Dr. Elleris stood by the control deck watching them both. Her expression was a mix of wonder and deep thought. She held a small data crystal in her hand, recording everything. This will be remembered, she whispered. The day a storm learned to feel, Jake chuckled quietly. You make it sound like I did something special. Elleris turned to him, her antennae twitching. You did, human. No weapon could stop that storm, but you did. With a toy that made bubbles and a heart that refused to give up. Jake shook his head. I just didn't want him to be scared. Elleris smiled faintly. That is what made you different. The commander entered the hangar then, his heavy armor clicking with each step. He had been a cold and strict leader once. But now his voice carried something new. Respect, Lawson, he said. How you have been declared a galactic peace guardian by order of the council. Jake blinked. A what? The commander replied. A title given to beings who bring calm where destruction once ruled. Jake laughed softly. Well, I guess that's better than chief mechanic of broken engines. Rin chirped loudly. Almost like he was laughing too. The sound made everyone smile. The commander continued. We are building a monument, one to honor the bond between you and the dragon. He pointed toward the center of the hangar. There, engineers were assembling a tall glass-like sculpture shaped like a bubble. Inside it floated a tiny glowing crystal of light, the same color as Rin's scales. Jake stared at it, humbled. You don't have to do that, he said softly. Elleris answered. We do, because every species in this station saw what you did, and for the first time they believed peace could be made. Not forced. As the monument rose, alien workers gathered around watching silently. Some bowed, others placed small tokens near the base, pieces of metal, broken tools, even pieces of shattered armor. Every object was a memory of what they had survived. Jake stood quietly, feeling the weight of it all. He never wanted fame, never wanted legend. He just wanted to fix things, and somehow, that had changed the galaxy. Rin jumped onto a nearby crate, stretching his wings wide. Light burst softly from his scales, filling the hangar with shimmering color. Everyone gasped as new bubbles floated into the air. These were different, not made of soap or machine, but of living light. Each bubble carried small shapes inside. Memories, visions, moments. Jake saw one drift close to him, inside it. He saw the first time he had calmed Rin, the small claw tapping near his boot, the tears, the trust. He smiled, whispering, Yeah, that's where it all started. Another bubble floated near Elleris, showing her first scan readings of Rin's heartbeat syncing with Jake's. She touched it gently, eyes misty. The proof that heartbeats can connect worlds, she said. Outside, the stars flickered, something far in the distance moved. Faint blue light. Quiet, harmless. The silent starstorm had not vanished completely, but it was no longer angry. It shimmered softly, almost like it was breathing. Rin turned toward the window and chirped. The storm pulsed once in answer, sending a wave of calm energy across the void. Jake watched, amazed. "It's saying hello," he whispered. Alaris nodded. "Maybe even thank you." A soft breeze from the hangar vent stirred the air, sending the glowing bubbles higher. They floated out through the open door, drifting into space like glowing seeds. Each bubble carried a small reflection of the station, the dragon and the human who taught peace. The sight was breathtaking, thousands of bubbles spreading through the stars, filling the void with color, light, and life. The commander turned to Jake, his deep voice low and respectful. "Mechanic, what will you do now?" Jake looked at the dragon, then at the stars. "I think I'll keep fixing things," he said. "The universe seems to have a lot that needs mending." Rin chirped again. Flapping his wings playfully, Jake grinned. "And I guess I'm not working alone anymore?" Laughter filled the hangar, soft, genuine, and alive. Even the machines seemed to hum along with it. For a long moment there was no war. No fear, no storm, only peace. Alaris watched them both, her voice quiet. "You know, someday people will tell your story to their children," she said. "The tale of the human mechanic who made bubbles to calm a dragon, and in doing so calmed the stars." Jake smiled, shaking his head. "I'm no hero," she replied. "You are what heroes were meant to be, someone who listens when no one else does." Outside, far beyond the station, the silent starstorm drifted through the galaxy. It carried faint colors now, silver and blue somewhere deep inside it. Two small lights pulsed together, a memory of connection, a sign that peace had found a place even in the heart of chaos. Back in the hangar, Rin blew one last bubble, larger than the rest. Glowing brighter than the stars, it floated high toward the ceiling, then drifted out through the open bay doors. Jake watched it rise, his voice soft. "Go on, little one. Show them what peace looks like." The bubble sailed into the endless dark, carrying with it the light of a human's heart and a dragon's soul. And somewhere across the stars a legend was born. They called it the human who calmed a storm. They called it the mechanic who made bubbles of peace. But for Jake Lawson, it was simpler than that. He was just a man who fixed what was broken, and this time he fixed the universe.